Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of college basketball. A Sweet 16 game for the archives, a nail biter down to the very end, but the Purdue Boilermakers are on to the Elite Eight. But without further ado, let's run it. Oh my Lord. You are watching instantaneous reaction, instantaneous recap live here from Atlanta, Georgia, traveling for work still. The Purdue Boilermakers advanced the Elite Eight 79 to 77 over the 11 seed Texas Longhorns. First off, all props to Texas. They played an incredible game. They played us super tough. We did not score the ball like I thought we were going to be able to, whether it was from the 3-point line or guarding our ball screens. We'll get into more of the details as this goes on. But some truly amazing, inspired play. You could tell they every bit deserved to be there. So hats off to Sean Miller and the Texas Longhorns. Sucks to see, your season have to end, but boy, am I glad that it's not Purdue tonight. Getting into this one, wow. Unreal game. This was a battle the whole way through. I mean, from the very beginning, it was back and forth. First 5 minutes almost dead even. First 10 minutes was the same. Teams would pull away just a little bit here and there. Our Purdue's big lead was 7. Texas's largest lead was 4. There were so many lead changes. I don't even know how many by the end there, but this was nuts. We looked from the beginning to establish our interior presence, that is for sure. But it started off with Fletcher Loyer from 3. He hits his first two threes to put us 2 for 2 from deep. We're up 6-0 in the first minute of the game. This looks like, we're on track to have a great shooting night in a game that we feel like we certainly should, against a team that doesn't necessarily defend the 3 all that well. It doesn't defend that well in general. But the threes died after that. I mean, for the rest of the first half, we struggled to get a single 3 to fall. We might have missed our next like 10 plus threes over the course of the whole game. Fletcher hits those first 2, then you miss 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We miss 9 in a row. Then Fletcher once again hits his third with 3 minutes left in the first. We miss 1, 2, 3 more in the row. And then Fletcher hits his fourth, and guess what? That's all the threes that we got for the entire game. Fletcher Loyer shot 4 for 8 from 3. We shot 4 for 20 as a team. We couldn't buy a 3 from anybody else. I'm glad we get just a little bit of rest. It's not going to be much. It's a day and some before the Elite Eight, but we need to shake off whatever shooting other than Fletcher, who continues to be on a tear. But after those initial threes fell, we realized we were going to have to switch up the offensive strategy, and we did. We started going to the inside more. CJ Cox got going from the mid range, which certainly helped lift us with 3 straight buckets of his own. And then we started establishing TKR and Clough. We got those guys going. We got Vokatitis in foul trouble, which was big. He's only able to play 23 minutes on the game because he ends with 4 fouls. He picked up 2 relatively quick fouls. Subs out for a fair amount of time, and then picks up his third and fourth, I believe, both in the second half. But he was a very solid presence for them under there, and he was part of the only reason why they were able to compete with us on the inside. As I thought, we were able to get Clough and TKR going a fair amount, especially TKR. I mean, he starts the game 7 for 7 from the floor. He ends the 8 for 10. Still an amazing performance from him. But without him on the floor, they did not have a lot of the height and strength, and quite frankly, lack of guys that would be able to not foul. They were just fouling a lot, which is why we were able to get to the free throw line a fair amount, and that was huge for us. Let's cover the free throws right now, because when I saw Texas open the game 1 for 3 from the free throw line, I said, that could be huge down the stretch. It ends up being enormous for them. As much as Purdue had a lot of things that if they just did what they were supposed to, we would have won easily. They went 8 for 15 from the free throw line. 53%. Obviously, Vokatitis has struggled from the free throw line this entire tournament. He ends 3 for 6 from the free throw line, but Dalen Swain goes 3 for 5. Draymond Mark goes 2 for 4. So they missed free throws kind of all over the floor, at least from their starters. Those three guys were the only guys that got to the free throw line, and they all missed 2+ free throws. But on Purdue's side, we did miss some key ones down the stretch. Braden missed one right at the end there to make it a 3-point game, which is or to make it a 4-point game, which would have made it 2 possessions, which would have been enormous. Instead, we go down on the other end and give up a horrible, horrible and one. But we go 15 for 20 from the free throw line, 75%. For us to be able to get to the free throw line like that is great. Again, that's not Purdue's strength. That's not something we do a lot, but we were able to make it big time there. And then, just the fact that we were able to make 75%, that's right on average for us, which is at that volume, I can accept that. I knew we weren't going to get 95% from the free throw line every game, but free throws and turnovers are obviously hugely important in March, no matter what you do in the rest of the game. And I think this was an amazing example of that. Purdue goes 15 for 20 from the free throw line, 75%, and only turns over the ball 4 times. Whereas Texas, who did a whole lot of other things right, goes 8 for 15 from the free throw line, 53%, and has 7 turnovers. So 3 more turnovers and two more missed free throws than us. They lose the game by 2. It's the X's and O's, it's the little things, it's the experience, it's the ability to handle that stress, handle that environment. And in the biggest plays, in the biggest points of this game, we held up. We had guys that made plays. I was not happy with Braden Smith's performance overall, but credit to him, he got to the free throw line late, knocked them all down except for one late there, and he missed another one throughout the game because he was 4 for 6 from the free throw line. He goes and gets that layup to put us up again late, um, and then gets fouled and goes and hits that, one of 2 free throws, which is again, it's enough. It's just enough. Um, and that's what sets us over. It's that there's a reason why a lot of analysts were talking about don't count this Purdue team out because again, even when we shoot 20% from three, which I would love to know what 3-point voodoo magic that Texas has. No one can hit threes against them apparently. I think that teams in this tournament have averaged like 23, 24% from three against this Texas team. They're not that good at defending the three. And Purdue's a 39% 3-point shooting team. We just couldn't buy a single one outside of Fletcher Loyer, which is insane. But again, it was enough. And as the game went on, first of all, Trey Kaufman-Renn goes crazy. We were able to get him in great positions. He had an amazing overall performance. The one thing I will be the first to say, as a diehard Purdue fan, I want them to do essentially anything they can to win. I was not necessarily a fan of the way that TKR was kind of flopping there during the game. It felt like there was a lot of times where he was taking contact and kind of throwing himself up in the air or on the ground. And some of those, he got lucky on some of those potential hooks, potential hook and holds. Obviously the one gets called as a double flagrant, I think it was. Same thing as a double technical. In that case, it's a dead ball foul. But I think he got lucky on some of those. But he settled down and he did exactly what he needed to down the stretch. But he was enormous in this game, especially when obviously even when they had Vokatitis out on the floor, a lot of times we're going in that too big lineup, which left TKR being guarded by sometimes Dalen Swain, sometimes Cam Heidi, sometimes actually a fair amount of Nick Cody off the bench. More minutes from him than I certainly expected. I think it literally just was they felt that they needed the height to guard TKR with. Knowing that they needed to go as close to 2 bigs as possible to counter Purdue's size with both Clough and TKR on the floor. But it worked out for us. He was able to be aggressive, but still be under control for a good portion of the game, at least when he was getting those shots up, maybe not so much in some of the other areas. But down the stretch, it was ball screens, which They guarded a whole lot better than I thought. Everything that I'd been hearing about, various from various different networks, various different channels, videos, all of the content that I consumed ahead of this game, was that Texas was a horrible ball screen defense team. Well, they defended the ball screen pretty well. They were much more aggressive than I expected them to be. They did not make it easy for Braden to just get off of the screens, whether it was an on-ball screen or Braden trying to come on off-ball screens. He was trying to come off of a fair amount of off-ball screens, and they were getting themselves in there and just kind of just dislodging his momentum, keeping it from becoming this, you know, just letting him get the ball with momentum on his side, getting around the corner. So credit to them for that. That was huge in this game because we did not get all that comfortable in the pick and roll and in like the short roll that I thought we would. We still did pretty well with it overall. Clearly, you got TKR going, early and often. But still, one other thing to note about Purdue's performance specifically is I wish that we could have gotten a little bit more out of the bench. Jakari Harris does play 9 minutes, and I thought the big thing is he didn't do anything crazy on the stat line, but I did think that his defense was very important. He doesn't end up with a steal or anything, but he did a great job of just containing guys, especially like Dalen Swain, when he came into the game. So I think that, he was an unspoken hero on defense. If you just look at the box score, unfortunately, Omer Meyer was just off between Omer and Jakari, the only two guys to score off the bench. You get 4 points out of 18, 20, 33 minutes. We need more than it's honestly crazy for us to get those 4 points out of 33 minutes and still end up with 79. It just kind of shows how good our starters are right now. We just need to be better everywhere else. And quite frankly, we were amazing everywhere except for the 3-point line. We'll go into some of the team stats here just because it's part of the conversation. We go 30 for 62 from the floor, so that's 48%. 4 for 20 from three. So without the 3-point line, we go 26 for 42, which 26 for 42. I mean, that's got to be pushing what, 58, 60%. Can do that math here real quick. 26. Yeah, so 26 of 42 is good for 61.9 or 62% from two. So we got everything that we wanted to from the 2-point range. But if we could just get any threes to fall, we would have been so fine. But outside of that, you already mentioned the free throws. The rebounding battle was honestly a lot closer than I thought it would be. I thought, well, I say that Texas has competed well on the glass in, a lot of their previous games. And I guess it kind of was, a strength versus strength, especially when Vokatitis was out on the floor. But it's 32-31. Purdue wins that rebounding battle by one. It's exactly identical on the offensive rebounds, 12-12. And then we out-rebounded them 20-19 on the defensive end. So that was about as a wash as it could be. Another stat that highlights, Texas's ability to disrupt Purdue's offense and make us play a lot more one-on-one ball than I would have expected is we only had 12 assists on our 30 made field goals, which is very unusual for Purdue. Braden only ends up with 5 assists out of those 12. Now they only ended up with 10 assists, but that's their style of play. They play a ton of one-on-one ball. They want to just, get a matchup that they like, let Dalen Swain, let Tremont Mark, let Jordan Pope just go at you. And they had plenty of success with that in this one. But, I also highlighted earlier, we only had 4 turnovers, which was huge. But Texas also does not force many turnovers on the defensive end. And the ones that they did, or that Purdue did get, I felt were more unforced than they were forced, in all honesty. But 7 turnovers for Texas, so we win that battle by a little bit. 3 steals to their 2. They get 1 block out of Vokatitis, which was that block on Braden, as he went in to try to get a layup there off the baseline. And then we only fouled 14 times to their 18. And the big thing was is they fouled a lot in that second half, which put us to the line in the bonus and then the double bonus, which helped us down the stretch. Even when we weren't necessarily getting great offense in some of those possessions, we were able to get to the free throw line and we were able to knock down enough to just keep kind of holding on or ever so slightly building that lead to give us enough cushion for some of their late game heroics. I want to go, move on a little bit directly to Texas's individual stats. I cannot talk about this game without talking about the unbelievable performance of Tremont Mark. Massive props to him. He plays 34 minutes despite twisting his ankle on a three-point attempt in the first half. I will be so honest, I do not agree with the foul call that was that play. Yes, he did land on Fletcher Loyer's foot, which caused him to twist his ankle. But if you go back and watch that play, and you could see it even in the way that he shoots and a lot of other times, he kicks his legs out so far forward. He shoots and just naturally just goes to a 45-degree angle, fading backwards, and his feet landed about 2 or 3 feet in front of the three-point line where Fletch had stopped, and that caused him to tweak his ankle. So I don't agree with the call, but be that as it may, it was not a great ankle tweak for him. You could see him hobbling throughout a lot of the game. That did not stop him on offense. He scores 29 points on an unbelievably efficient 11 of 15 shooting, 5 for 7 from the three-point line. He was 2 for 4 from the free throw line with 3 rebounds and a steal. He literally he was playing like a slower Prime Harden out there. He literally looked like prime James Harden. He's the lefty. He had that step back. Didn't matter if you were in his face or not. He just bottom of the net almost every single time. It looked like we could not do anything to stop him. Thankfully, he did miss a couple of those down the stretch. And we did make it tough for him, especially in the mid range. Some of them he still knocked down, but we did a good job of making some of those tougher as the game went on. But he was unreal. He just put the team on his back. He ends up with almost relatively close to half of his team's points in a Sweet 16 game. So hats off to him. He was the heart and soul of this team in this game. But it really was still the big three for them because behind him you had Dalen Swain with 15 points of his own. He played almost the entire game, 39 out of the 40 minutes, 6 of 13 shooting. He was 0 for 2 from 3, 3 for 5 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, but 5 turnovers for Dalen Swain. So he had 5 out of their 7 turnovers as a team, which was not great for him. But 4 out of his 9 rebounds were offensive. So he was just active everywhere. Some negatives on the offensive side of the ball with those turnovers. But he was another huge aspect of, especially when Mark was hurt or had to come out of the game for some of those minutes there. It was him and then also Jordan Pope, who they turned to say, go get us a bucket. And speaking of Jordan Pope, he was questionable coming into this game with a lower leg injury of his own. It was kind of interesting and kind of amusing to watch both players, Jordan Pope and CJ Cox, go at each other and go against each other on both ends of the floor, both recovering from their lower leg injuries that they experienced in the second round games. But he didn't really let it stop him. He ended up with 12 points on 4 of 10 shooting, 4 for 9 from 3. He was another one that really didn't care if he had the space. He just shot it anyway, and it worked out a lot. He had, a lot of good shots fall, and between Tremont Mark and Jordan Pope, you had 9 for 16 from 3, which single-handedly kept them in this game when they were struggling to get, solid actions against Purdue's defense. Because again, they're so one-on-one. Well, I understand why, because they knock down those one-on-one shots at a much higher clip than I would ever believe almost any team to, quite frankly. But behind those guys, you got 9 out of Okatitis. He does get those 4 fouls. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Cam Heide, former Boilermaker, who does not have a fantastic performance in his return to playing against his former team. He only ends up with 3 points on 1 of 4 shooting, all of those being from 3. He does have 5 rebounds and assists, but he fouled out with like 5 or so minutes left in this game. He was battling with TKR a lot when he was in the game, and he picked up a couple of, ticky-tack fouls and situations he shouldn't, like trying to pickpocket Omer Meyer in the backcourt, and that ended up costing him. And those fouls were crucial for sending Purdue to the line in the second half. He had, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had all 5 of his fouls in the second half, which is kind of crazy. So credit Cam Heide for helping send the Boilermakers on. Didn't think I would say that this year of all years, but it really was mainly those big 3 for Texas, which I'm not surprised for being their scoring punch. Those 3 combined had 40, 56 points, 56 out of their 77. And it was almost enough. But moving over to the Boilermakers side of the ball, you have to start with Trey Kaufman-Renn, who, despite some of those over exaggerated movements. I'll refrain from calling them flops. But 20 points on 8 of 10 shooting, a perfect 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Amazing. Keep it up. Thank you so much. We need that so much more if we're going to continue moving on in this tournament. But 8 rebounds, only 1 turnover. He was unable to get assists in this game. Uh, part of it was is we weren't hitting shots from the outside. A lot of times he gets those cross court shots. They also recovered pretty well to those cross court passes. Um, but if you get 28 from TKR and he only turns over the ball once, I am not going to be upset about that whatsoever. But behind that, I have to talk about Fletcher Loyer, who, of course, started hot for us from three and was the only one able to knock down any threes. He ends with 18 points on 6 of 13 shooting, 4 for 8 from three. So he continues to shoot right at and around 50% from three throughout the course of the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament. Hopefully, he can continue to keep it up as well. Perfect 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. So, again, a relatively complete game. I won't say that he played his best defense in this one, but this is also a really hard game for him to step up on defense because of just how good those wing scorers are for Texas, especially in one-on-one, especially off the dribble, getting to the basket, getting to the mid-range. They were kind of getting whatever shots they wanted, no matter what defender was in front of them. So I'm not going to blame, Fletcher for his role in attempting to stop those guys. I got to talk about Braden next, of course. He still continues to struggle shooting. He does get 16 points in this one on 6 of 16 shooting, another 0 for 3 from three. So he still cannot get these threes to drop outside of that Queens game. And now looking back, I wish he would have saved some of those threes for the rest of these games. He was 4 for 6 from the free throw line. Missed that big one late that would have avoided the need for a crazy tip in at the end. 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers. So not his highest assist game. Some of those plays on the defense end were enormous. One of those 6 shots that he made was another steal and score for an easy layup on the other end. And, it's plays like that. You want to talk about game-winning plays. Sometimes that happens over the course of the game and you win the game by 7 to 10 points. You don't really think about, how pivotal a play like that can be. But we won by 2. You could attribute any single 2 that Purdue scored as being the game-winning 2. Obviously, TKR's tip-in shot was truly the game winner, but if you don't get some of those ones earlier, you might not even be in that situation. So, really need Braden to get his shot back. I kind of wanted him to rip the jersey and go back to 41, see if he could get that same magic going. But we'll see. We'll see what he looks like in the Elite Eight. I still believe in him. He's still my PG1. And we need as much as we can out of him the rest of the way. Behind him, I'll move to Oscar Clough next. 11 points on 4 of 7 shooting, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Again, very solid for a 70% free throw shooter. 6 rebounds, 2 assists. 4 of his 6 rebounds were on the offensive end. So again, he continued to fight and fight and fight for offensive rebounds, which is exactly what we need out of him. And he only plays 29 minutes again, but around 30 minutes a game. I'm not going to be too upset at. It was kind of the foul trouble that got him in this one, and he does actually end up fouling out on that last and one, which I still cannot believe that he even put himself in the position to be called for a foul, much less actually bump him and get the whistle blown. But we survived, so it won't get put under the microscope quite as much as it would have if we ended up on the wrong side of this. But still happy to see him get 11, 6, and 2. He still battled quite a bit out there. I think he neutralized Vocatitis a lot better than he could have in terms of, Vocatitis only gets 9 points in this one, only 2 rebounds out of him as well. So I have to give Clough credit for that, not just the stats that he put on the actual stat sheet. And then rounding out the starting 5, I am so glad that CJ Cox was able to play in this game. I don't think I want to know what it would have looked like if we weren't able to have his presence on the floor, because he ends up with 10 points on 4 of 9 shooting. He was 0 for 4 from 3, so he just couldn't get that 3-point touch to fall, but he was 2 for 2 from the free throw line. CJ Cox ties TKR for the team lead in rebounds with 8 and 2 assists as well. He had 2 offensive rebounds, and 6 of them were on the defensive end. He hits 3 straight buckets in the first half. Well, after we went quiet, after those first 2 threes from Fletcher, those 3 mid-range shots that CJ hit were huge for keeping us in the game in that first half, similar to how he was able to do that with his 3 threes in the last game. It's like seems like whenever we're in a slump, give the ball to CJ and see what he can cook up for us. Because if he's feeling it, he's going to get some pretty darn good shots, and he was able to do just that for us. So I want him to rest that knee up, ice it, minimize your movement as much as possible, other than keeping it loose and whatever shoot arounds and uh, light walkthroughs that they'll do. But we're going to need him. We're going to continue to need him. Um, if we want to continue to try to make a run to Indianapolis, which we are now 1 game away. But I'll do a quick run through the bench as well. Moving off of CJ, I should talk about Jakari, because Jakari did play 9 minutes in this game, essentially the 9 that CJ went off the floor. So the fact that CJ played 31 minutes after that knee injury is amazing. But Jakari's 9 minutes, he does end up with just those 2 points, but on 1 of 1 shooting. So he made that one aggressive driving dunk off of a Braden kickout, which I was super happy to see him just attack the gap and go straight to the basket. And he doesn't record another stat other than that, but I did say I think his defensive presence was well worth it out there. And he was just being active, even if he couldn't get a steal, even if he didn't do anything else that was stat sheet worthy. I still thought his presence was very solid out there. The rest of the bench, you have Jack Bender, who does play 13 minutes, 0 for 1 from 3, with a rebound and a steal. So again, you hope he's able to hit shots when he gets them. He did not get many opportunities in this one, only that one. But I think that 1 3 that he did take was a little bit rushed, a little bit contested, not my favorite shot that he shot. But he does take a charge in this one. That was another massive thing of his in the first half. He continued to get himself in place for that. I think he's arguably the best on our team when it comes to having a sense for where to get to and when a guy's putting his head down and just gonna run right through you. So huge play for him on there. Omer Meyer plays 9 minutes as well, same as Jakari. Ends up with 2 points, same as Jakari, but on 1 of 5 shooting. He was 0 for 4 from 3, 0 for 2 from the free throw line. Hurt. Those two misses that he had would have been huge for us down the stretch. He does get 3 rebounds and 1 turnover. Need to get Omer's shot going again. It was obviously going. It was super hot during Big Ten play. He had kind of got into his stride, but he's been on a cold streak again lately. Not been I don't think he's had a great shooting performance in quite a while. In fact, he hit 1 3 during the game against Queens, but as of right now, he's 1 for 6. 0 for 4 in this game, 0 for 1 against Miami. But even before that, 0 for 1 against Michigan in the Big Ten tournament, 1 for 4 against UCLA, 1 for 4 against Nebraska before that. So he needs to get out of that funk. Again, he's a freshman. It's always difficult to kind of pinpoint what freshmen are going to be able to do by the end of the year in terms of, are they going to grow and be this amazing force, or are they going to tire out a little bit, get some more tired legs and lose their steam, not being used to playing this long of a season, especially with a deep run in March. So hopefully he can turn it up in his minutes, to round out however far we make it in this tournament. But to round it out, you have Daniel Jacobson off the bench, who only plays 2 minutes, but also once again did not look good in those 2 minutes. I would have rather they give those 2 minutes to TKR. I know you wanted to get him a breather. TKR still played 36 minutes. But I think even a slightly more tired TKR for those 2 would have been better than what Jacobson was able to do. He did not look great. I don't think Jacobson was credited for the turnover, but there was a turnover that happened on a attempted pass inside to him. I think it was Braden's pass, so I think they might have given the turnover to Braden. I don't know. I want him to be successful. I hope he continues to put in work and gets better and better across the offseason. But as of right now, we need to stick with the guys that are playing our best basketball, and that's not him right now. But that'll take me into the plus minus stat that I love looking at so much. Not a ton of super positives. When we only win the game by 2, it kind of does make sense. Interestingly enough, our highest positive this game, which kind of proves what I was saying about him on the defensive end, and what he was able to do, was Jack Benter. Jack Benter has +8 in this game, in just his 13 minutes. So I think it allowed us to have a little bit better of a, athletic, outside perimeter defender at the 4 position when he was in, and we moved TKR to the 5. It allowed us to, just move the ball, or switch a lot more, and just be a lot more active on the perimeter, especially against guys like Swain, like Tremont Mark. I think he was mostly on Swain when Benter was in the game, but huge for him. And behind him was actually Jakari Harris. So once again, I think it holds up that when he was in this game, he may not have been scoring, but he was defending their stars very well, and he caused a couple of missed shots there. Obviously makes his one basket, so all credit to him. He's played pretty well in back-to-back games, so I hope that he can keep going with these, inspired defensive performances, regardless of what he's able to do on offense. But behind him, you have +4 from TKR, despite his, a fantastic stat line. +4 from Fletcher Lawyer. +3 from Omer Meyer, despite not being able to hit shots. And interestingly enough, -3 from Braden Smith, -4 from CJ Cox, and actually -8 from Clough, which is interesting because I thought that he did battle well. He did miss a couple of, shots that he had the chance to. And I think him getting as many fouls as he did, give a couple more points for the Longhorns while he was on the floor, which might have caused for some of those more negative minutes. But the plus minus stat can be a very interesting watch, because sometimes it'll tell you a lot, other times it'll tell you, things that maybe you didn't necessarily see while watching the game. And I don't think I saw Clough being our worst performer. And interesting enough, Daniel Jacobson a flat 0 in his 2 minutes. So I guess not much happened in those 2 minutes. So overall, amazing. Amazing. Nothing short of amazing. When that tip shot went in by TKR, my heart rate spiked to 150. I'm in a hotel room. I was trying not to disturb my hotel neighbors too much, but I am so, so proud and so excited, um, to see this team play for an Elite Eight again, against the winner of Arkansas and Texas. No, sorry. Oh my gosh. My brain is so scrambled. We just played Texas, Arkansas, and Arizona, who actually are playing as I am recording this right now, with Arizona up 6 with 13 and a half to go in the first half. I assume that will be a fantastic game. But regardless of who we play, we will need to bring an amazing performance, an A+ performance, because those are two amazing teams who are playing some of their best basketball right now. And at the end of the day, we have to play better than this. As much as we did end up with a win, we did just enough to win. It was nowhere near our best performance. I mean, we shot 20% from three. That's never going to be a good Purdue game. But we battled elsewhere. And no matter what happens, we have to battle all over the floor if we want the opportunity to make our way to Indianapolis and compete for a Final Four. And at the end of the day, that is the goal. And that is what I want to see, what all of Purdue fans want to see. And quite frankly, I would imagine, outside of probably Indiana fans, a lot of Big Ten fans want to see, because I think Big Ten fans want to quiet the narrative of the Big Ten not being able to win a national championship. And the more Big Ten teams in the Final Four, the more chances that we've got to finally pull it off this year. But that's all I've got for today. Still lots more Sweet 16 action to come, but Drew and I will be back with more predictions, and more recaps for what I'm assuming will be a lot more electric basketball from this very round. Comment down below what you thought was the biggest part of this game, and help us get over that 300 subscriber mark if you're not subscribed already. But if you want more from us, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm out. One more game. Indianapolis. Here we come.